was quiet, but I wasn't alone. Your absence knew my name. Every corner held a version of you. Nothing here feels the same. I poured 2 glasses out of habit and laughed at how I still pretend. I keep forgetting you're not coming back then. Remembering again. Your shadow learned my daily routine. It follows me room to room. I swear I hear your breath at night, right before the silence blooms. I talk to you like you can answer, like you didn't choose to go. I hate how my heart still reaches for something it already knows. I told myself I was moving forward, but the truth slipped through my hands. Healing stopped the moment my heart asked where you stand. I danced with your ghost in the moonlight, spinning with what used to be. My arms were empty, my heart was full of a love that wouldn't leave me. You weren't there, but I felt you close. Every step cut deep and slow. I danced with your ghost all night long, because I didn't know how to let you go. Your name still fits my mouth too well, like it was meant to stay. I rehearse the things I'd never say, then whisper them anyway. I wear your memory like a dress that doesn't fit me now. It's beautiful, but it hurts to breathe, and I don't know how. You promised nothing, I know that's true, but neither did I. Still my heart built a future alone and watched it quietly die. I don't miss who you really were, I miss who I became with you. I miss believing love was safe before it broke me in two. I danced with your ghost in the dark again, to a song you'll never hear. Every spin was a silent prayer that you'd suddenly appear. You didn't touch me, but I felt your hold stronger than letting go. I danced with your ghost through the pain, because loving you is all I know. One day the music will finally stop, and the room will feel like mine. Your ghost will fade into memory, not standing so close behind. But tonight I'll sway with what I lost. One last truth I can't deny. I didn't just lose you when you left. I lost myself the night I said goodbye. The morning felt heavier than usual, like the air already knew the truth. I said your name and it sounded distant, even standing right next to you. Your eyes were open but not reaching, your hands were warm but unsure. felt the ending in the silence before you ever spoke the words. I traced the cracks we never fixed, mistakes we hid behind a smile. We kept calling it just a phase, but phases don't last this long in denial. I loved you in ways you stopped noticing. Gave more when you gave less each day. I was fighting for something fading. You were already halfway away. I asked you if we were okay. You hesitated just a second too long. That pause said everything my heart didn't wanna hear was wrong. That was the day I lost us. Now when you finally walked out the door, it was when I realized I was loving someone who wasn't here anymore. I held on while you let go, pretending we were still enough. That was the day I lost us, when love stopped being love. I remember how hard I tried that night to keep my voice from breaking apart. I chose calm words over screaming pain, even though it shattered my heart. You said we both deserve better, like leaving was an act of grace. But you left me alone with memories I didn't ask to replace. I wasn't perfect, I know that's true, but I was honest, I was there. I stayed through doubt and uncertainty while you escaped what we should have shared. Losing you hurt, but losing us was a deeper kind of pain, because I lost the future I believed in, not just your name, not just your name. That was the day I lost us, when hope quietly fell apart, when I felt love turn into grief inside my still beating heart. I kept choosing we and always. You chose silence and enough. That was the day I lost us, and nothing hurt that much. Now I'm learning how to breathe again without your shadow in my chest. I don't miss the way you left me, I miss who I was at my best. Some losses don't come with goodbyes, they come when belief is gone. The day I lost us still lives in me, but I'll survive and move on. You held my face like it was fragile, like breaking me was never your plan. You learned my fears, my quiet habits, then let them slip right through your hands. You said my name like it was sacred, said love was something you could protect. I believed you without hesitation. That was my first mistake. You stayed long enough to feel like home, long enough to rearrange my soul. I gave you rooms I never opened, now they echo dark and cold. You saw the worst parts of my heart and swore they didn't scare you away. But promises sound different when someone decides not to stay. I keep replaying every moment, searching where it went wrong. You didn't stop loving me, suddenly you stopped choosing me all along. You loved me, then left, like those two things don't collide. Like loving someone deeply doesn't mean you also fight. You touched my life, you changed my breath, then walked away like it was nothing new. You loved me, then left, and I'm the one still loving you. Now I flinch at kindness from strangers, wonder what they'll take and run. I measure every word I speak, afraid of sounding like someone you once loved. I learned that love can be temporary, even when it feels like truth. You didn't lie when you said you loved me, you just didn't mean forever too. I wasn't hard to love, I was just easy to leave. You wanted warmth without the weight, and I wanted something real to believe. I stayed when it got uncomfortable, you disappeared when it got deep. That's the difference between us. I loved you awake, you loved me asleep. You loved me, then left, before the scars could fade, before I learned how to protect myself from the plans we never made. You took the best of who I was and left the healing up to me. You loved me, then left, now I live with the memory. One day I'll say your name without shaking, without wishing you'd come back. I'll forgive myself for staying soft with someone who couldn't match that. But tonight I sit with this quiet truth, it hurts more than I can accept. You loved me once and that was real, but you loved me, then left. I met you when you had empty hands, no promises, no clear direction. I believed in the quiet parts of you, the ones hidden behind hesitation. I saw a future you couldn't picture, spoke dreams you were scared to say. While you were still learning who you were, I was already choosing you every day. I stitched hope into broken moments, turned maybes into something real. I forgave what hurt too often, told myself love is meant to heal. I stood alone in crowded doubts, defending you when I felt small. I kept building while you watched, never asking what it cost at all. I held us up when we were fragile, when giving up felt easier to do. I mistook your silence for trust and your distance for something true. I built us from nothing, with faith, with tears, with pain. I gave you all the love I had, and you walked away the same. I made a home inside my heart while you kept one foot free. I built us from nothing, and you left it all to me. I grew into someone recognizable, trying to be what you might stay for. I lowered my needs, softened my voice, asked for less and gave you more. You leaned on my strength without noticing, it was slowly wearing thin. I was holding us together alone, calling it love while losing myself. never saw what that was worth. I built us from nothing, from belief you never shared. I fought for every fragile piece while you barely stood there. I turned dust into devotion, made forever out of pain. I built us from nothing, and you let it fall like rain. Now I'm learning how to let go of what I created alone. Some loves aren't meant to last, no matter how carefully they're grown. I won't build someone a world again while standing unseen within. I built us from nothing once. Next time I'll build me first. You stopped replying but never said goodbye. Left me reading between unfinished lines. I waited for words that never arrived, holding my breath in the middle of time. Your absence filled every corner of me, louder than fights we never had. I learned the sound of being ignored was the sharpest pain I ever felt. I replayed our last soft conversation, wondering what I failed to hear. I blame myself for your quiet distance, for loving you too sincere. I asked the night what went wrong. It answered back with nothing at all. You didn't need to raise your voice. Your silence was enough to make me fall. I would have faced the truth if you spoke it. I would have cried and tried to stand tall, but you chose to disappear slowly, and that hurt more than any wall. Your silence was loud, it screamed my name, echoed through every part of my chest. I begged for a sign, a single word, but empty nonsense said instead. You left me alone in unanswered love, with questions you never allowed. You didn't say you were leaving, but your silence was loud. I smiled in public, broke in private, pretending I was still okay. I carried conversations by myself, talking to memories that wouldn't stay. I kept hoping you'd come back, change. The quiet didn't mean the end, but love shouldn't feel like waiting forever for someone who won't reach their hand. If you had told me you were done, I would've mourned to let you go, but you left me trapped between maybe and never, bleeding from words you didn't show. You told me that closure isn't promised, sometimes it never comes around. Some goodbyes unspoken, they're felt in the sound. Your silence was loud, it shattered my peace, turned hope into heavy regret. I gave you patient, understanding time. You gave me nothing but dead. I loved you all out without fear, while you faded without a sound. You didn't say you were leaving, but your silence was loud. Now I'm learning to listen to myself, to walk away when love goes quiet. I deserve words, not empty space, not affection that hides in denial. You lost me the moment you stopped trying, when my heart begged and you bowed. I'll remember this forever. your silence was loud. I trusted the way you said my name, like it meant more than just a sound. I believed in pauses and half smiles, in promises never written down. I read your eyes like they were honest, even when they looked away. I built a future from small moments you never planned to stay. There were no answers, only feelings, no certainty, only hope. I held on tighter to confusion, calling it love so I could cope. I defended you in my silence, made excuses you never earned. I burned myself to keep you warm, and wonder why it still hurt. I didn't need perfection, I didn't need the truth to shine. I just needed you to choose me, at least once in time. I loved you without proof, without safety, without signs. I loved you in the dark, while you kept your heart disguised. I believed what you never showed, I stayed when I should have moved. I gave you everything I had, I loved you without proof. I missed the comfort for commitment, missed the presence for care. I thought staying quiet was patience, not fear of losing what wasn't there. I waited for you to become someone who would finally fight for me. But love shouldn't feel like begging for what should come naturally. If loving you was a mistake, then it was one I made alone. You stood safely in my devotion, never risking your own. I don't hate you for not loving me, I hate that I let it slide. I deserve more than uncertainty wrapped in pretty lies. I loved you without proof, without reasons to believe. I trusted the potential of us more than the reality I could see. I ignored every warning sign, every doubt I already knew. I stayed loyal to a feeling. I loved you without proof. Now I'm learning that love needs truth, not guessing the silent pain. I won't fall for almost again, or hearts that never explain. You were a lesson wrapped in longing, a chapter I outgrew. I won't love blindly anymore, like I loved you. You walked out in the middle of my becoming, while I was still learning how to breathe with you. I was halfway through believing in forever, halfway through trusting something true. You knew my fears before I said them, knew where I was most weak. Yet you chose the moment I opened my heart to quietly leave. I stayed up fixing what you broke so gently, telling myself love takes time. I stitched your absence into my nights, called the bleeding fine. You left your name inside my future, your shadow inside my plans. Now every dream I almost reached for slipped straight through my hands. I wasn't asking for perfection, I was asking you to stay, but you disappeared mid-promise, mid-sentence, midway. You left me unfinished, half whole, half torn apart. You took the best version of me and abandoned the start. I'm standing in pieces, you never returned, in a story you didn't complete. You walked away without looking back and left me unfinished at your feet. I replay our last conversation, searching for a warning sign, but you smiled like everything was stable, while already changing your mind. You let me build a life around you, let me believe you were sure. Then you vanished like love was temporary, like I was easy to ignore. If loving you was a journey, you quit before the end. You dropped me in the middle of forever and never turned again. Now I'm learning how to finish myself without your hand to hold. But some scars don't fade with time, they just learn to grow cold. You left me unfinished with words you never said, with hope still breathing in my chest and goodbye stuck in my head. I gave you my faith, my patience, my truth, every part you could see. You took what you wanted and disappeared, leaving the rest of me. One day I'll complete what you abandoned, turn the pain into proof. But tonight I'm still standing in the echo of a love that left too soon. You were my almost, my never, my why, my heart is truth to face. You didn't just leave my life behind, you left me unfinished in your place. You left me unfinished in your place. You came to me when the world felt heavy, not to stay, just to rest. You learned my laughter like a shortcut, borrowed warmth from my chest. I mistook your comfort for choosing me, mistook routine for care. I didn't know I was just a place you went when no one was there. You knew the time I'd always answer, knew I'd soften your fall. You held my hand when it suited you, then forgot it all. I rearranged my nights around you, called patience love instead. While I was dreaming of forever, you were just clear in your head. I loved you like a promise, you used me like a cure. I gave you something sacred, you never made it yours. My heart was your habit, something easy to reach. You came when you needed comfort, and left when you felt complete. I was never your future, future, never your plan. I was just the place you leaned on until you could stand. You said my name like it meant safety, said you didn't want to be alone. But the moment your world felt steady, you remembered how to go. You fed me hope in quiet pieces, just enough to stay. I didn't know I was loving someone who was already halfway away. I was the silence after your chaos, the calm you didn't earn. I was the lesson you walked through without stopping to learn. Now I see every time you came back was never about us. You didn't miss my love, you missed being loved. My heart was your habit, not your truth, not your home. Stay just long enough to heal, then left me here alone. I gave you my patience, my nights, my faith. You took what you needed and called it fate. I'm breaking the cycle you never noticed, learning to choose me again. My heart was your habit for too long, but it won't be your shelter again. One day you'll feel the absence of what you chose to forget. I was more than a moment of comfort, I was love you never met. I believed every quiet promise you never said out loud. I read hope between your silences and called it something proud. I defended you in empty rooms where doubt was screaming truth. I traded my own instincts just to keep believing you. I waited through your distance like it was proof of depth. Told myself love was patient while you slowly stole my breath. I learned to lower my needs so you wouldn't feel the weight. I kept forgiving reasons you never tried to explain. I mistook your hesitation for something soft and real. I called pain devotion because it's all I felt. I loved you like a fool with my eyes wide closed. I turned every warning into something I ignored. I gave you my whole heart while you gave me your spare time. I loved you like a fool and called it being kind. You never asked for saving, yet I drowned just the same. I held on to your shadows like they knew my name. I stayed when it was lonely, when love felt one-sided and thin. I kept hoping you would become someone you never planned to be. I was loyal to the version of you that only lived in my head. I fell in love with potential while reality bled. You didn't break me loudly, you let me break myself. I kept choosing you over my own help. I loved you like a fool with a fearless kind of pain. I kept planting my heart in ground that never changed. I called it unconditional, but it cost me my pride. I loved you like a fool, and slowly lost my light. Now I'm learning the difference between love and the truth, I refused. I didn't fail at loving. I just loved someone who never knew. Came to you with open hands, nothing hidden, nothing armed. I thought love meant staying soft even when it left its marks. I trusted every gentle word like it knew how to be true. I didn't know that learning you meant unlearning me too. You never raised your voice at me, you didn't have to try. You just left things unfinished and watched me fill the lines. I learned to doubt my feelings, to apologize for pain, to call confusion love and wear it like a name. You didn't push me off the edge, you taught me how to lean, how to smile falling into something unseen. You taught me how to break without ever touching my skin. You showed me how to shatter and still let the world in. I bend until I disappear just to keep you close. You taught me how to break in the quietest ways I know. I learned to read your distance like it was something deep, to wait for moments that you promised but never meant to keep. I learned to silence questions that deserve to be said. I learned how to stay awake next to someone already gone to bed. I became fluent in excuses that were never mine to make. I defended every wound just to prove I wouldn't ache. You didn't steal my strength from me, I handed it away. Loving you was the lesson that taught my heart how to fray. You taught me how to break and call it growing strong. You taught me how to stay when everything was wrong. I lost myself so carefully, you never noticed when I changed. You taught me how to break, you never once felt blame. Now I'm learning something different, something you never showed. That love should feel like safety, not a test of how much I can hold. I won't hate you for the damage, but I won't forget the truth. You didn't mean to destroy me, you just never meant to love me.